Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for the latest in our webinar series. The topic of today's webinar is what is the value proposition in adding automation/orchestration on top of ServiceNow? I'm Guy Nadivi, Business Development Manager for Ayehu, and I'm joined today by my colleague Tom Melnick, Ayehu's Professional Services Manager. And together we're going to not only show you the value proposition of adding automation/orchestration to ServiceNow, but we're actually going to demonstrate that automation in action. So in case you're wondering what qualifies Ayehu to ask about automation/orchestration's value proposition vis-a-vis ServiceNow, here's a little background about us. We ourselves are an IT process automation solution provider, now entering our 9th year as a company in this niche market. And we've had an automation solution available for the market for over 6 years, and it's called iShare. We also have a number of clients that use ServiceNow, and we've implemented automation/orchestration for them. So we have a good baseline of use cases to reference in illustrating and articulating the value proposition this webinar will be exploring. So what has our research found when it comes to adding automation to a ServiceNow instance? Well, it turns out that there are 5 processes in particular that get automated the most. These are the low-hanging fruit that deliver a very quick ROI and will often produce a return on investment in automation with a very quick payback of as little as a few months. And so to unveil these top 5 processes, I'm going to request some assistance from the master of lists, David Letterman. And with his help, we're going to start with number 5 and work our way up to number 1. Excuse me. Number 5 is event log monitoring. Now, you're probably well aware that your your server operating systems, Windows or Linux, generate voluminous amounts of log data all the time. So if there's a problem with the system, it's probably captured in some event log. The problem is that manually tracking issues across all system event logs can take time to find and troubleshoot. That's where automation comes in. Automation can parse the system event log, whether it's an application log or security log or something else, and generate alerts about critical events for mission-critical applications like Exchange, IIS, MS SQL, etc. And the alert can be automatically routed to the relevant person who can then respond to the event and take action upon it. Number 4 is file automation. What exactly is file automation? It's the monitoring of files, logs, and directories for modifications, changes to file size, or alterations to the date stamp. File automation allows execution of any set of actions like archiving, copying files, compressing, parsing specific text in a file, and many other actions. File automation workflows can be scheduled to run at specific intervals, for example, to check on, in order to check file transfers, or can be triggered by specific events to check the existence of a file, last modified date, size, etc. Number 3 is automating service restarts. How many times a day do you find yourself having to restart a service remotely because of frequent changes to application configuration files, service crashes, or the need to release system memory? And there's always a backup or email service that stops working just when you're having a night out or watching your favorite game. So when that happens, you need to once again remotely connect to the server, restart, and check service availability. But with automation, you can monitor your Windows or Linux services, backups, antivirus sweeps, spoolers, email servers, app services, and much more. And you can then let automation diagnose and troubleshoot the events and send an alert via email or SMS in the event of a service failure. You can also let automation perform the remediation by either restarting the service automatically or prompting first for a human decision received via email or SMS. Number 2, automating SQL queries. Very often IT professionals or DBAs need to connect to and retrieve data from an SQL database and then output the retrieved data in text format or an Excel file and send the results via email to a particular user. But there's no need to manually perform this routine repetitive task anymore when you have automation. With automation, SQL queries can be run on demand per user request via email or SMS, and without the need to involve a DBA or highly skilled IT professional to do this simple task. And that leads us to the number one process that people automate: Active Directory password resets and account unlocks. Surprised? Probably not. Some of you may already know that as much as 40% of your IT support personnel's workload is comprised of just password resets and account unlocks, which is almost universally handled manually. The Burton Group, which is now part of Gartner, estimates that password management costs companies $250 per user per year. So if you do the math on those charges for your own environment, you'll quickly see why this is the number one automated process by customers who deploy automation for their ServiceNow instance. Okay, now, guess what all these process automations have in common? That's right, automated ServiceNow ticket creation, the bane of every level 1 technician. No matter what process you're going to automate, whether it's the previously mentioned top 5 or any others, the odds are that you're going to want to eliminate the manual labor of creating a ServiceNow ticket associated with that process. And that labor savings alone is a big value proposition in and of itself. By the way, let's be clear on differentiating between the value proposition of automation and determining the ROI on that automation, which is an entirely separate topic. In fact, we did an entire webinar last month on calculating the ROI of IT process automation, and I highly recommend it. So for those of you interested in learning more about how to calculate the ROI of IT process automation, please visit our website, Ayehu.com, and click on the link to our YouTube channel at the upper right of the homepage, and there you'll find lots of brief but informative videos, and the one on ROI calculations should be pretty close to the top. Okay, let's get back to the value proposition of adding IT process automation to your ServiceNow instance. Here's what we found to be the top 5 value propositions, and once again, I'm going to call upon everyone's favorite list master, David Letterman, to help me unveil these, but this time we're going to work our way down from number 1 to number 5. Number 1 is automating incident remediation and ticket creation to create a closed-loop process. Now, when we say a closed-loop process, what we're talking about is the network monitoring system generating an alert due to an incident, and the IT process automation tool then taking that alert, parsing it to determine its nature, and launching an intelligent workflow to begin its remediation. And at the same time that's going on, the automated process opens up a ticket in ServiceNow to document all the steps being taken as part of that remediation, and then closing out the ticket upon resolution of the incident. And as a final step, it goes back to the network monitoring system to update and dismiss the alert, all without human intervention. That is what we call a closed-loop process, and sometimes we refer to it internally as level 0 tech support, because the problem's resolved before it even escalates to a level 1 technician. So creating that closed-loop process is a huge value proposition. Number 2, dramatically reducing alert storms and the manual level 1 labor needed to address them, which makes sense because if we've just automated the remediation response necessary for any number of incidents like account unlocks, password resets, low disk space, etc., and we've created a closed loop process eliminating the need for human intervention, then we've just radically reduced the deluge of alerts that level 1 technicians get flooded with every day. And this leads us to the next logical resulting value proposition. Automating routine repetitive procedures frees up staff for more important tasks. So ask yourself this question: why have intelligent, creative, highly skilled, highly paid technical staff dealing with routine repetitive procedures? It really makes no sense when you can let automation deal with those burdens. Free up those talented people for more important tasks requiring strategic planning or projects with longer time horizons. You'll get a greater return on the compensation you're paying them, and they'll get far more job satisfaction out of working for you. Number 4 on our value proposition hit list is documenting organizational knowledge while becoming ITIL compliant in the process. So a natural byproduct of automating IT operational processes is that you're also documenting organizational knowledge by getting it out of people's heads and into a shared, centrally visible environment. And by the way, doing so also contributes to getting your organization ITIL compliant if that's one of your objectives. Okay, and number 5 is tying together heterogeneous platforms and environments into unified workflows. So automation can be a type of organizational middleware that bridges multiple systems in automating certain processes. For example, the classic case of onboarding new employees. With automation, you just create a request in ServiceNow, and the automation tool can then go off and create the new employee's security credentials for access to email, network resources, applications, key card swipers, etc. So please remember that these are only the top 5 value propositions. There are many, many more benefits derived from automation that are unique to each organization's environment. Okay, that leads us to the demo portion of our webinar, where we'll be demonstrating a couple things. First, we're going to use automation to remediate a SolarWinds alert and open up a ServiceNow ticket. And then secondly, we're going to show you an overview of how easy it can be to build these automation workflows. And for this portion of our webinar, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Tom, and he's going to take it from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Tom, and I'm going to show you a quick demo and do an overview of our IT operation automation solution. So first of all, we're going to do the demo. Here we have our monitored server, which I'm going to stop a service named Worldwide Publishing Service, and an alert will be raised in SolarWinds. So I just stop the service, and the alert should be raised in a matter of seconds here. The alerts in iShare could be triggered, the sources of them could be monitoring systems, ticketing systems. The alerts could be sent by an SMS, by an email, or by SNMP traps or syslog. And here we're using our integration with SolarWinds. The alert should be raised shortly. Well, this is our dashboard, and when the alert is gonna be sent over to SolarWinds, we will automatically pull this alert from SolarWinds and create an incident in iShare. So this should be done in a matter of seconds. So now we're receiving a couple of alerts that tell us that the IIS is down and therefore our application, and some alerts that are connected to it. Excellent. So now we have the alert tells us that the HTTP port monitor is down, and here we go. A workflow was raised by this trigger that I'll show you later. And first of all, what we do is we trigger a workflow named IIS Recovery Demo, which basically remediates the problem and creates a ticket over in ServiceNow. Firstly, what we do, we check the website and we see that we have an error, which is unable to connect to the remote server. And then we do a couple of troubleshooting steps in order to collect some data and provide it when we open a ticket. So basically what we do, we ping the web server, check if it's on. We do the telnet with the port number 80 and check the IES service, and we see that it's stopped. And then we, of course, collect some basic data about CPU, memory, and disk space, and then we open the record over in ServiceNow with this invoice number. So now I'm going to go to ServiceNow, and we're going to see the exact ticket that we're seeing now is just being opened. This is the ticket, and here is the data that we have collected. So as you could see, it's really quick and intuitive. After we open the ticket, we want to correspond with our operator, John Smith, in order for him to acknowledge this workflow and this remediation process. After John Smith doesn't answer us for a timeout of a minute, we correspond with Yaron Levy, our other operator, by our instant messaging app. So basically what we ask from Yaron Levy is to respond to this workflow, to this incident. We provide him with some basic data about the alert, and he responds. The response could be done by an SMS or by an email or by this instant messaging app. So afterwards, we send an acknowledgement over to SolarWinds and update the record with the name of the operator who is handling this specific incident. So after we updated the record with this data, we asked Yaron Levy, our operator, what to do, whether we should reset the IAS, restart the application pool, or restart the server. All of these steps are handled by him, and he just has to choose which step to do in order to remediate the problem. So what Yaron Levy picks is reset the IAS server, and we're waiting for the IES restart. As you could see, the software performed a service restart. And now we update the record that the restart was successful and that we remediated the problem. Once we remediate the problem, the alerts over in SolarWinds should be gone, and the incident should be erased from the Icer dashboard. And Yaron Levy, of course, got a remediation message that tells him that everything is okay, and basically we've done a good job of remediating our incident, and everything was documented over in ServiceNow. As you can see, the status is resolved over in ServiceNow, and we have all the documentation of all the steps that we have performed over Icer in order to remediate the problem. So now what I'm going to do is perform a quick overview of iShare, the iShare Studio, which is this one. As Guy told you, iShare is an IT operation automation software. It's agentless and it's vendor agnostic. And basically, I'm going to show you three engines, three most important engines over in iShare. The first one is the Action Rules engine. The Action Rules engine is basically for creating triggers in order to start trigger workflows. Here, for example, we have the SolarWinds Monitor IAS. which is the condition, the trigger for the demo that I performed. Here we have a condition for an object name that contains World Wide Web Publishing, which is the service name. And if we get an alert with this object name from SolarWinds, then we trigger a workflow named IS Recovery Demo with ServiceNow. The second engine is the Scheduled Actions engine. Basically here, you could choose any workflow to run at a specific time, basically schedule it to run every month, every week, or at another basis, and it will be performed automatically with no intervention. And the third engine is basically our designer or the workflow studio, which here we could perform the building of our workflows. On the left-hand side, you can see our toolbox, which contains more than 500 activities. Each activity is basically in its respective IT category. For example, Active Directory, you have a lot of activities here for creating users, creating OU groups, disable accounts, reset passwords, other integrations, of course, with the biggest vendors like BMC, HP, Microsoft, ServiceNow, and Jira. And of course, here we have our ServiceNow integration, which lets you, by only dragging our activity, to create a new record over in ServiceNow, and basically by only choosing which form you would like to create. For instance, I would like to create an incident, and then all of its forms will be loaded. We could add other forms if we choose to, for example, the severity and the state and close note, and everything is dynamic as it's configured in your specific ServiceNow instance. We could do, of course, the delete record activity. We can get a record with specific parameters. We can update the record, and of course, we could upload an attachment to an existing record. On the right-hand side, we provide our customers with more than 150 templates, which basically give you an idea of what iShare is capable of. For example, by only dragging this workflow named Find Zombie Users, you only drag it into the studio and see all the workflow here. It performs the logical task of finding zombie users. You could, of course, tweak it a little bit, depending on your organization, and of course, send a report. So now I'm going to just show you the workflow that we've performed in the demo. This is how the workflow looks like, okay? You could see it's really easy to spot what the logic is here. Of course, at first we check the website, we see if the URL has failed or if it succeeded. If it succeeded, we don't do anything except of closing the incident and sending an email which tells our operator that is a false alert. If it's failed, we basically ping the server. If you have a success, we perform the collection of the data like CPU, memory, and disk space, and create a record over in ServiceNow with these specific parameters. Some of them hard-coded, some of them are dynamic, like this one, the node name. And of course, we communicate with our operators, John Smith or Yaron Levy. After John Smith didn't answer for 1 minute, we continued to Yaron Levy via iShare Instant Messaging app. After that, we acknowledge the alert in SolarWinds, update the records, and depending on the response of our operator, we resetting the IS, restarting the application pool, or restarting the server. And of course, perform checkups later to see that our incident was remediated. Just to give you an idea of how the integration looks like, this is the ServiceNow integration. You only enter your URL, username, and password, and the system automatically loads all the forms and all the fields from the existing ServiceNow instance of your corporation. And you also can listen to any tickets that are being created in your ServiceNow instance by filtering only the action form or the incident form or change request form. So we could trigger workflows based on your ticket. For example, if someone opens a ticket with a reset password or creating a user, the alert arrives to iShare, and we could trigger a workflow that creates this specific user. One more thing, as you could see, and now the alerts are gone from SolarWinds, so you could definitely see that we had our problem remediated. Guy, I think you could continue from now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tom. And let me just bring my PowerPoint back up on the screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, everyone, I just have one more thing that I wanted to show you before our webinar concludes today, and that's a comparison of your automation options. Since we've been demonstrating iShare, our own automation solution, some of you may be wondering how it compares with ServiceNow's orchestration module. So we've compiled some points of differentiation that are the result of numerous conversations with ServiceNow customers, ServiceNow partners, and it also underwent a thorough vetting by Gartner themselves. So this is all verified information. Okay, for starters, let's compare the companies themselves. ServiceNow is a platform-as-a-service provider of enterprise service management software. Their platform has 38 modules grouped into 5 different categories, and one of those 38 modules happens to be orchestration, but it's not a particular focus of theirs any more or any less than their other 37 modules. Ayehu, on the other hand, does just one thing, automation. But we think we do that one thing very well. IT process automation is Ayehu's sole focus, unlike ServiceNow. And we like to say that while others may be a mile wide but an inch deep, Ayehu is an inch wide but a mile deep. And interestingly, though ServiceNow does have an automation component, the majority of use cases for it are outside of IT operations. It's apparently primarily used for HR, system development lifecycle, and things of that nature. iShare, however, is exclusively focused on IT operations. And of course, the price difference is a bit staggering, particularly when you'll see shortly what's included with each company's automation tool. Now, please note that due to the way ServiceNow sells their software, which requires a number of other prerequisites before you can even get to the automation, this is not an apples-to-apples comparison. However, this also highlights that with iShare, you don't need to have anything else to start automating your IT operations. However, for such an expensive product, ServiceNow surprisingly provides only one option in platform availability, and that's single-tenant SaaS. Ayehu, meanwhile, allows you to install iShare on-premise, which is a much more secure alternative, or it can be hosted if preferred, and it can also be installed on a virtual machine or on a physical one. Ayehu also does not require you to purchase any other software in order to begin automating your environment. ServiceNow, on the other hand, is only available to ServiceNow subscribers, but iShare can be used as a standalone tool. And another difference here is that iShare only requires a server executable on one machine, while ServiceNow requires intermediary components in the form of what they call a mid server, which some of you are probably familiar with. The mid server is a Java application that runs as a Windows service or Unix daemon, and by the way, you will often be required to deploy multiple mid servers. One of the biggest values you get from an automation tool is its ability to integrate with other systems and platforms already present in your environment. So that integration then allows you to perform the kinds of automations that Tom demonstrated earlier when he automatically remediated the incident that generated that SolarWinds alert. But there's integrations and then there's integrations. So if, as in the case of ServiceNow, you can only accept incoming data from various network monitoring systems, but then you can't go back to that network monitoring system and update the alert so that it's dismissed, then you haven't achieved a truly complete integration. So out of the box, iShare is fully integrated in both directions, as demonstrated, with network monitoring solutions like SolarWinds, Nagios, and Splunk, and we can actually integrate via email with any network monitoring system. And of course, iShare is integrated with a number of other ITSM platforms out of the box, including, of course, ServiceNow, and that allows for automatic ticket creation and a closed-loop process in the remediation of incidents. ServiceNow, on the other hand, can only open tickets inside of ServiceNow, and we're adding additional integrations all the time with every major release. Okay, activities. Those are the pre-built visual objects that allow you to piece together complex workflows as if you were constructing something out of Lego pieces. Those activities are the user's tool set, and like any workshop, the more tools, the better, especially if you want to automate a lot of things. iShare comes with over 5 times as many pre-built activities as ServiceNow's orchestration module, and it also includes many more pre-built workflows, which you can think of as process templates. The idea with these pre-built workflows is to give the user an easy way to hit the ground running with their automation initiative right out of the box. By the way, here's a fun fact. Nearly every pre-built workflow included with iShare was designed, debugged, and streamlined by one of our clients, who then graciously chose to share it back with us for inclusion in the base product. So iShare's workflow templates have been real-world tested in some very large environments, and that's something that every new customer can immediately take advantage of with iShare. How about skill sets? Well, both automation tools are pretty easy to use if you're just automating a simple process, so any level 1 technician with basic operator skills ought to be fine at that level. But what if you're automating a more complex process? Well, in that case, a level 1 technician is still fully qualified to build complex workflows in iShare with nothing more than our drag and drop interface, which we demonstrated. In fact, you'd be amazed how complicated some of the automations are that our clients have built within hours of getting iShare up and running. On the other hand, if you're trying to automate a complex process in ServiceNow, you're going to need a higher level skill set that will likely include programming in JavaScript and PowerShell. So if there's one big idea we'd like you all to take away today from comparing iShare to ServiceNow's orchestration module, it's that iShare is the best of breed offering for organizations interested in automating IT operations. We can get you up and running quicker with far broader functionality and far more integrations for a whole lot less than you'd spend anywhere else, especially with ServiceNow. As a reminder, ServiceNow only sells its orchestration module to clients who purchase the platform, and they derive negligible revenue from it in relation to the company's overall revenue base and its going forward strategy. ServiceNow's approach is to leverage its platform for extended development with a focus on workflow and orchestration, but in most cases, these are non-IT operation specific, as I mentioned earlier with the examples of HR and software development lifecycle. So for these reasons, we believe that leaves iShare as the best of breed solution for IT operations. Okay, that concludes the main portion of today's webinar on the value proposition of adding automation/orchestration on top of ServiceNow. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. The technical ones will be handled by Tom, and any other ones by myself. So let's go ahead and get started. And if the admin of the webinar could please just go ahead and read out the questions, I'd appreciate that. Any questions?
There is one question, Guy.
Okay.
I see that you have integrated with SolarWinds and ServiceNow. Can you integrate with Nagios?
Yes, Yes, as I mentioned a couple of slides ago, in fact, I'll go back a few. Hang on, we'll get back to that slide. Yeah, there we are. So iShare is integrated with a number of network monitoring systems right out of the box. SolarWinds, Nagios, Splunk, HP Operations Manager, and SCOM from Microsoft. Those are all built-in two-way integrations, and we can integrate with any network monitoring system via email. But those are the ones that we're integrated with at the API level. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes, one more. Can you clarify what you mean by two-way integration?
Yes, absolutely. So one direction is when SolarWinds or whatever network monitoring system that you're using, when it generates an alert as a result of some incident, that alert goes out and we intercept it. So we get that alert, that's going one way. Then we begin our remediation process. We open up a ticket in ServiceNow or whatever ITSM platform you're using for ticketing. Then once the problem is resolved, we close out the ticket, and then we go back the other way. We reach into SolarWinds or whatever network monitoring system, and we update their internal table to dismiss the alert. So we receive and we put back. That's what we call two-way integration.
Hi, this is Rahul. So do we have a cloud-based platform, or this is something like a ServiceNow that it provides, or you also provide it on-premises?
Well, iShare is available as an on-premise solution, or it can be hosted, either one, and it can be run on a virtual machine or a physical one. So any combination of those choices.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes. Just a moment. Is there a limit to the number of commands that can be executed?
I'm going to turn that one over to Tom. So Tom, do you want to take that one?
Yes, could you repeat the question, please?
Is there a limit to the number of commands that can be executed?
No, there actually isn't one. You could send a lot of alerts into the system, and it can handle all of the alerts. And it could also aggregate those alerts into one single incident if necessary and perform the desired action.
I have a question. You spoke about a complex integration in, is possible. Can I have an illustration of it? Any complex integration or complex orchestration being achieved? A complex workflow, rather.
Wow. Yeah, if you could put yourself back on mute. I will describe one that I'm personally familiar with, and then Tom, maybe you can add one that you might know about. But there's a very large financial institution on the East Coast of the United States who was running a process on thousands of servers that ran every weekend. It basically involved a type of file log monitoring, and it was looking for a certain keyword in the files, and then based on what the keyword was, a variety of different actions had to take place that keyword triggered. And believe it or not, this institution, because of the critical nature of this process, was doing this all manually on the weekends. And so we came in and we automated the whole thing. It was a pretty lengthy automation workflow. I think it was like 3 or 4 pages long, with a lot of branching logic and a lot of things that it touched. And the whole thing ran. It was flawless, and it saved them. I forget, they said something. That one workflow alone, I think, was going to save them like $70,000 a year in labor and other expenses, just from one workflow. I mean, they bought the tool and they're in the process of automating a lot of stuff now. Tom, do you have any examples you can provide?
No, because different clients have a lot of different workloads they're triggering, or the scheduling, but a lot of infrastructure workflows, system IT workflows for checking errors in databases, in server logs, or Cisco switches, or just performing regular checkups of their application infrastructure, for example, all the databases, the web services, the storage, the network, basically checking the all infrastructure of one specific application, and then providing a report or on a daily basis of the health of this specific application. So it's not really enough only to monitor this application, but if we want to see the whole image together, a lot of clients perform those checkups on a daily basis.
Thanks, Tom. Any other questions?
Yes. What is the most ITSM system integrated with Ayehu?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yes. What is the most popular ITSM system integrated with Ayehu?
Well, that's an easy one. ServiceNow. A few years ago, it was kind of all over the map. It was Remedy, Tivoli, HP. But in the last couple of years, ServiceNow has clearly emerged as the ITSM platform with the most momentum, the most interest, the most mind share. So I would say today, probably, I don't know, 75% of the time when we're talking about an ITSM ticketing platform with a client, it's ServiceNow that they're talking about. By the way, a number of clients are still running legacy ITSM platforms, so, Remedy, Tivoli, whatever, and they aren't ready to quite get rid of it just yet. So a number of times we have to integrate with multiple ticketing platforms. That means the ability to automatically create tickets in multiple ITSM systems. And, of course, because of our out-of-the-box integration, that's not a problem. But ServiceNow is clearly the most popular on the ITSM ticketing side, and without question, SolarWinds is the most popular on the network monitoring system side.
Has this been used for patching of multiple servers?
I'm sorry, one more time, please.
Has this been used for patching of multiple servers?
Absolutely. For patch management, iShare can definitely automate that. Any other questions?
Guy, Pawan here again. I assume the workflows which are available, 500 plus, whatever you've mentioned, should be all-inclusive, a comprehensive list. But just in case if we don't have one of the action items or one of the action in an IT infrastructure to be taken, which is not part of the workflow, can that be developed by the user? Can we develop a workflow of our own and try and implement?
Excellent question. The answer is yes, although I should say that with 500 activities available out of the box, it's very unusual for somebody to require an activity that we don't already have pre-built, but it does occur on rare occasions. But you can do your own scripting and encapsulate it inside of our workflow. Tom, do you want to perhaps elaborate a little bit on that?
What exactly do you mean by just... Guy?
I think what Pavan was asking was, let's say they need something done, activity done, that is not available as a pre-built activity. They have some sort of custom developed action that they need as part of a workflow. How can the customer add that to the Ayehu workflow?
Okay, well, a part of the 500 activities we provide out of the box, we do really care of our customers' needs. Each activity, so that you know, for general information, is basically a DLL in .NET. And whether a customer needs a specific activity done, or we do realize that there is a demand for a specific integration or a specific activity, we develop this integration or activity in a matter of a couple of weeks, QA this activity, and then provide the customer with it. And the customer doesn't need to wait for a release once in a couple of months for our general version in order to for us to provide him this activity. And plus, we do provide an SDK for our clients in order for them to build this activity by themselves in .NET, in C# or in VB.NET. Or, of course, they could use PowerShell scripts in Icer in order to perform the specific actions they want to.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Guy. Yeah, is there any limit for the number of custom activities that can be developed by the customer?
I think maybe the question would probably be better is there a limit to the number of workflows that you can have? And that's a very good question. By the way, there's no limitation to the number of activities you can have in a workflow. But the way that our pricing works, we do charge based on the number of workflows your license allows. So you can have as many servers and routers and other machines and devices as you want. We don't care about that. You can have as many users of the software as you'd like. We don't care about that. I've been asked in the past if the number of networks matters. Nope, we don't care about that either. The only thing we care about is how many workflows you have. And so we typically, our licensing has an accommodation for 10 workflows, for 25 workflows, and then you can add additional 10 workflow packs if you need more. And then we also have an enterprise license that includes unlimited workflows. Hope that answers your question.
Yep, it does. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one last question. Are there any other questions? Okay, so as a next step, I strongly encourage you to visit our website, and when you go there, you can download your own free 30-day trial copy of iShare. It's available from the download menu on Ayehu.com, and it's a full-featured version of iShare that has all the functionality we demonstrated for you today. If you need any technical assistance with iShare while you're testing it, we provide that assistance free of charge during your evaluation period. So the software and the support are free during the trial period, making this a zero-risk offer. So don't delay. Start automating today. And that concludes our webinar, everyone. Thank you all for attending. If you think of anything else that you would like to ask, my email address is very easy to remember, as is our website, both of which are on your screen right now. So have a great rest of the day, everyone, and we will look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Take care and goodbye.